Hey, Thrand here, and we're back with the Claymore from Medieval Shoppe. Performed beautifully in our other testing video where we tested it against mediums such as levies, lightly armored or unarmored opponents. Today, we want to do something special. We want to take the Claymore and we want to see how it performs against an armored opponent. And he's ready to go. You saw that right there. But he's got a breastplate, our 15th century breastplate, 15th century helmet, and it's got a visor. We've got a full chain coif. We've got proper Gambeson under it with one of our gel heads. This is already a damaged helmet, but nothing on here for sure we know would have killed anybody. It's one of Medieval Shoppe's helmets, actually. But they want us to do a destruction test, and it's pretty much what we got out of it. But we'll go ahead and hit this, hit that, and we're going to remove the helmet and see how that goes with just the chain. I'm assuming with just the Maille, we're probably going to end up with a dead knight if he lost his top. So let's go ahead and try that out and see how it goes. Ah! Well, knocked his visor off. We even cleaved into the metal slightly. I don't know if y'all can see this, but I actually cleaved into the metal. This sword actually cut steel, because it's softer steel on his helmet. Lost the visor, so let's just set that over here. I will check him. I'm not seeing any blood or any damage. I don't know if he would have had a headache, but I don't think he's injured. And that is from a great sword. We'll try hitting the helmet again. Ah! It was a decent blow. Look at that. His visor keeps coming unsnapped, and this is an old destruction test helm, so that's why that's rigged on. But look, nice crease, a nice dent. Let's go ahead and pull off his cap again. See how much damage we did to him. I don't think he's injured in any way. He's fine. He is definitely fine. I don't think you're going to go through the man that way. I'm just not seeing it. Ah! Ooh, he does some chafing through there. That was a pretty good blow. I'll try to see if he has a fracture. It didn't cut through his head like it would do normally, but he has a fracture. Ah! See what happened to him. Oh, he lost a lot of flesh. We're going to be able to see this in a minute. He has a fracture in the skull. I can feel it, but it's not all the way through. This man would be down, though, or dead, just from the impact. Ah! Oh, that did it. That did it. I'm seeing blood coming out of him. I'm seeing it here. We need to see what we did to him. That did it. All right, let's see what we got in here. Got our two arming caps. Oh. Apparently what we thought wasn't a lot is quite a bit. We cracked his skull with the other hits. This man was dead. The side blow to the side of the head, I'm not so sure, but this here is definitely a kill. And then we came in from over here and hit him, and that's when we saw the blood come out. And I'm going to be honest with you, his neck is broken. The only thing that's holding it up is the gel. Actual bones in the neck are shattered. So this man did not survive without the helm. With the helm, he appeared to maybe be unconscious, knocked out, possibly from the extreme blow, but without the actual top, yeah, he's dead. This first blow over here did it. We just didn't realize it because I couldn't see underneath there to how bad. Still, I'm really impressed how well the Maille held up, and the padding was more than you would expect, because we've seen what that sword can do without any type of protection at all. It would have went clean through the head and just took the top off, or clean through the head and left it laying on the ground. So I guarantee you, without the top, it's still better than nothing. You might live if they glanced you. A one-handed sword, you know, you might survive that, but two-handers just a wee bit too much for just Maille and Gambeson. A lot of times they'd have a little skull cap under there, or a smaller helm. That's why you have small helms, and you have great helms that go over that. All right. We've got our Valkyrie here. She is basically a fiberglass mannequin that we tested a shield with that was donated to us. She's taken a couple bullet wounds, if you've seen her before. Today she's got 2 racks of ribs strapped to her chest in a plastic garbage bag. They're strapped in there in a proper position with 540 cord. They are exactly if they were on the front of a torso. Of course, they're not joined to a spine, but they are over her fiberglass form, which should give them some rigidity. So maybe they might break for us if it gets hit hard enough or in the right way. She might break for all we know. We've got our Gambeson. We've got a actual tunic, and we have more Gambeson. And we have our 15th century breastplate. It is a 15 gauge breastplate, about approximately 15 gauge. Makes it 1.65 millimeter, and it's slightly tempered. It has been damaged before. We did reshape it, but we've got it in a perfect condition now. We've got a belt on to help hold it securely, and she is not rigid in any respect. And people have been talking about this. This can move very much like a person if they got hit on their footing. Matter of fact, on one foot and just barely held up here. So it's going to be interesting to see how this behaves. And I want to give a special thanks to Michael Babbage. He's a good friend of ours and a viewer from Australia. He's also an academic. He's into history, and he's the one who suggested the pork ribs. He wanted them in ballistics gel. But unfortunately for us to do a whole torso and do it that way with real hog or pork ribs would be a little impossible at the current time. We don't have the funds to do that. But what we've done is we've set it up here, and thanks again, Michael, for giving us the idea. I think that's going to be much better than our other ideas. Oh! Got a nice indentation, and it creased into it quite well. Oh! Ooh! That has to be some trauma under there. We've got a nice indentation. Ah! Oh! I don't think we're going through there like that. Yeah, after all the hits we tried with thrust, they glance off easily, especially with the target moving. They've cut into the metal. Look at this, the sharp steel cutting this one slightly softer, is slightly tempered but not hardened, super hardened. We've got a score into it. We've got a dimple in it. But with this breastplate shape and the way I'm hitting it, I think with a claymore, the actual blows seem to be causing more damage or injury or a nuisance to the knight than anything else. I'm saying this looks bad though. We'll examine it in a minute. Oh! Oh, I got a little arm there too. Let's try another one. Oh! That is nasty. I don't know if it made it to the ribs, but I think it did. I think it hit ribs. We shall see what it did. Alright, now that we've got the plate off and our light Gambeson, it's not feeling, we got a lot of crushing up here on the meat. I'm not feeling an actual broken bone totally. I'm trying to see if I can find one, because it would be interesting if we do find a nice break. Because otherwise we would take this completely off and we're going to still do our Maille test. I'm not feeling a break. There's some tearing between the meat and the ribs, but I'm not feeling an actual break. I still would not want that force going through like that into my body. That could injure organs possibly with the impact. If it actually is directly against the body when it's hit. So the plate's usually away from the body, or harnessed that way, but in this case we've actually deformed it totally. Oh! That was right into the rib cage in this area. Oh! Maille seems to be holding up well and stopping the edge. We're getting a lot of blunt trauma through there. Oh! It feels like we're losing resistance under there. Oh! Just for good measure, come in on the other side and see what it does. Alright, let's check that out. If you look here, we have structural damage to this very hard fiberglass structure. A human body wouldn't crack, but this shows how much force went through here. If it broke this, I'm seeing this as, if the ribs were secure, it probably would have broke ribs. We've also got damage here that was not from anything else we did. It actually cracked the shell here as well. And I'm trying to see if there was any over here. We see some scarring on it. Oh, there's some crack. All right, we've got some very unusual damage here, where what it's done is it's actually cut into the meat, like split it open. And I'm assuming that's from it shaping and conforming to the thing when it got hit, that it actually tore apart in the impact. This is cracked right in here. It's hard to tell, but are you seeing the blood come through? We have a cracked rib. I can feel it right in here. Remember, these are not joined to a spine, so it's not exactly the same thing, but that rib is, you can see the blood coming through now as I'm messing with it. That's from the marrow inside, and it's busted. I can feel it. It's harder to see. Rest of them feel normal. Let's see what this blow did over here. Took the least damage overall, mostly just through the mail. Yeah, I think if they were joined to a spine, we might have had some broken bones. We definitely see bruising and damage or blood coming through that wouldn't have been there, like in these areas. You can feel like the little pockets. I think they're cracked. That's exactly what it feels like. They're cracked. Not all the way through, but they're cracked. I guess where they were setting against the hard surface when they impacted. I honestly think it would break ribs, and I think that the impact would be probably, or through the mail, could be lethal to the wearer. That's why they were wearing stuff like this called plates. So, over mail as they got larger weapons and polearms. Well, I hope you enjoyed our special episode. We checked out that breastplate afterwards, and I put it on me the way I normally wear this harness. And normally this would be up top. You might have it resting against your double thick Gambeson at the top, and then the bottom, this would be against the lower body here around the waist. This is totally out of shape. This was just two blows here, and I'm looking at it going, this is 15 gauge, which is 1.65 millimeter, slightly tempered, not heavily tempered. But we've got so much damage in this area. I don't think our ribs were a true test, because although they bruised, they move too much. They're not rigid to a spine, and I think this would have broken ribs. I really, really do. There's no way that shock that goes to the chest couldn't damage a lung or the heart itself, maybe even stop it or rupture it. The damaging would be intense from that. Now here, this is not touching my body, and with the padding, I don't know, unless it got knocked into me just right, which I don't see that as physically possible. I don't think this would be as threatening, honestly. They did have heavier plate. They had heavier tempered plate that was done just right where it wouldn't crack. This isn't the only example of a breastplate, although they did have some plate like this early period, around the 15th century. As for the mail, our chainmail, as most people call it, or mail armor, I don't think that any of those blows would be something you want to take. Just seeing that bruising and knowing the impact and seeing it, I think they could take you out of the fight just from the impact. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think that's why they started wearing coated plates. They started wearing breastplates. They started adding extra pieces of plate because people, to get past mail, went to heavier weapons. That's why you get the clunkier swords during the 13th century, which is in the 1200s. They start getting heavier hand-and-a-halves, two-handers, and that was their first solution. Lots of mail. Don't worry about niches. Just pound the heck out of the guy until he's dead. That's why they use falchions and so on. And then later on, you start getting more plate. They go back to niche hunting. And that's probably why, because we didn't even get a thrust through this. It's not that heavy gauge plate, but I couldn't thrust through it, but I sure as heck could cave it in. And this is very, very bad. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed our special episode. I certainly did. It was a lot of fun to test this Claymore out over here. And be sure and like us, subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, tell people about us, help us on Patreon if you can. Matter of fact, if you could go by www.patreonthrand.com and help us out, then hopefully maybe in the future we can get some better analogs to test stuff like this and we can tell what's going on with the body. Unfortunately, we're not able to at the current time to check the shock wave and so on, how much internal injury we'd actually have in bleeding, because a lot of that could take place without even broken bones. But anyway, be sure and go to Facebook and look for Thrand and Elgrim's Well of Remembrance and like us there. And you can also be a member if you choose to a selective group, the Thrand YouTube boat crew, and just ask to be a member, and we'll surely accept you as long as you get along with everybody and like talking about history and talking to us about our new videos and what you'd like to see. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Farewell.